Hey there everybody, Sage here, founder of the School of Evolutionary Herbalism. And in this week's episode, I got a really great question from a student that I thought would be really great to just share with the greater evolutionary herbalism community. And the question this week was about kind of integrating more of a spiritual approach to your work with clients, specifically in regards to praying with and for your clients. And you know, this isn't something that I really talk that much about, but when I think about it, I'm like, oh, this is actually a really critically important part of my own personal work that I do with clients. But I think there's a way to approach doing this with people in a way that is authentic, in a way that is, doesn't make people feel uncomfortable, in a way that really is honoring and uplifting and encouraging and supportive for the person that you're working with. And I know that this is something that maybe a lot of you would really be interested in incorporating into your work with clients, maybe not just, handing out herbs and just keeping it that way, but, maybe wanting to incorporate a little bit more of that spiritual side into your work with people. And I really feel that simply praying for people is a really great way to do that. And so that was the question that I answered this week in our student Q&A session. And I just thought that maybe it was something that a lot of other people were interested in, and it's not something I talk about that much. So I thought it would serve you well. So I hope you enjoy this discussion here on integrating prayer into your work as an herbalist. I am super grateful for this comprehensive and straightforward guidance on intake, which can be so daunting otherwise. I would love to hear about the prayer that you say with clients in the beginning. I have been feeling called to do the same, but it would really be helpful to have a sample. Yeah, great question, Deanna. Yes, so this has been an evolving aspect of my work with people over the years. I think it's really about kind of following your sense of the person, especially when you're just starting to work with someone. One of the things that I think is one of the most important aspects of starting a new client relationship is building and developing trust, right? You want your client to trust you. You want them to feel comfortable with you. You want them to ideally like you and enjoy your presence. And because if they don't like you, if they don't trust you, if they don't feel like comfortable with you, they aren't going to open up as deeply as they would otherwise. So it's kind of one of the, I guess maybe one of the invisible things that we're working towards as practitioners is developing that trust with the client. And that's done a number of ways, through, ideally getting results, helping them, just being kind and friendly and compassionate with them, really listening to them, and just following what their needs are. Now, one way that trust can be really negatively affected is by making them feel uncomfortable. And if you are, if someone comes to you for a very first session, they don't know you, they don't really know your work, maybe they don't know much about herbs or herbalism, maybe they're coming to you with their own particular belief system or religion or way of seeing the world. And if you just shake their hand and jump right into, maybe praying in your own unique way of praying, that could very well really make someone feel uncomfortable. It might really turn them off. Maybe it's not in accordance with their spiritual or religious beliefs. And that is it's going to immediately kind of kill the vibe. So I actually don't do that anymore because I learned from experience the hard way. unless you already know the person and you know that there's a congruency there, I think it's really good to kind of wait on that a little bit. And I think it's really good to go through the intake process so you really know what's going on for that person, right? It's hard to say a prayer for someone if you don't know what to pray about, right? If you don't know what their struggle is, if you don't know what their life is like. And to me, that's what the whole process of doing the intake and the conversation and the interview is all about, right? Is that you're having a conversation, a co-creative exploration with this person about their life. And you really want to be able to kind of put yourself in their shoes, so to speak. You want to understand, like, what does it feel like to be this person? What does it feel like to experience what they're going through? And that is not an intellectual exercise. That is a heart exercise. That is an exercise in empathy, in compassion, in really opening yourself up to connect with that person on a very deep level and do your best to understand, like, what is it like to be this person? Like, what are they going through and what are they struggling with? And it's hard to know that right off the bat. So I really like to encourage people to go through the intake, go through the interview process, do all of your, case history and your primary complaint and OPQRST, and really dig into what's going on in their life. And then from there, depending on how you feel, like usually you'll feel if someone is like really opening up and they're really, feeling good about the way things are moving. You'll just have a feeling if someone's into it or not, right? Or if, there's just a feeling there. And oftentimes, if I'm working with someone new, I'll just ask them, if at the end of the session, I'm feeling like that would be something that would encourage and uplift and support them, I'll just ask and just say, hey, one part of the work that I do is that I really see our health as being an integral part of the spiritual side of our life. And I would really love to say a prayer for you and for your life to support you. Is that something that you feel comfortable with? And more often than not, I think probably because the nature of my work, people that come to me are coming to me because of that spiritual orientation of the way that I see health and healing and herbal medicine. So most people that come to me usually are pretty open to that. But there have been times where people are like, no, I think I'm okay, or no, I don't think that would make me feel very comfortable. But 99% of the time, people say yes. And they're usually, to me, a prayer is medicine. A prayer is healing, because you're speaking to something greater than ourselves. From my perspective, when I pray, I'm praying to God. I'm praying to the Creator, the source of all of life, and there's a healing power there. I mean, to me, the Creator or God or whatever word that you want to use, is the ultimate medicine, is the most powerful medicine, is the creator of all of the herbal medicines that we use. And all of that healing power is there. And so to me, when it comes to saying a prayer for a person in a consultation, I'm thinking of it as and orienting it in a way that it's going to help that person, that it's going to heal that person, maybe heal their heart and their mind, their body too. And so typically, the way that I approach that is just from the heart and really following my sense of how that person can be supported. And really, it comes from wanting the best for that person, really wanting that person to heal, really wanting that person to feel good, and wanting their body to be rejuvenated, and wanting their mind to be clear, and wanting their heart to be open and strong and full, and wanting their life to be good, and their whole life. So sometimes, that involves praying about their family, or praying about their home, or praying about their work, or praying about their hardships and the struggles that they go through in their life. But also praying for good things too, like maybe praying about the hard stuff and the challenges, and, maybe the kind of the darker side and the things that they struggle with. But also praying to bring good things and good blessings into their life too. And that's how I tend to orient it. I don't have a script. I don't have a preset way that I go about doing that. To me, it's all about following the heart and following my empathy and my compassion and my caring for that person, and really wanting the best for them. And that's the place that it has to come from. You don't want it to come from a place of like really wanting it to sound good, or really wanting them to think you're so spiritual, or there can't be anything like that there, or it's going to feel weird. It's not going to feel authentic, because it isn't authentic. And so to me, when you're praying for another person like that, your heart has to be really clear. Your mind has to be really clear, and has to be coming from the right place. And that's where I believe a prayer can be very healing for people. And really, there's whole traditions of medicine where prayer is a critical part of that, right? I mean, we see this in Western medicine. We see this in many indigenous systems of medicine where, there are healers that the way that they heal people is through prayer. And so I really do my best to incorporate that into my work with people. And it's amazing how much healing happens through that. I can't tell you how many times, see people have emotional release through that prayer, because sometimes no one's ever done that for them, right? And sometimes people don't know how to pray for themselves. They don't know how to ask for help. They don't know, maybe that's something new for them. And so for you as a healer with a good heart and with caring and kindness and compassion, and you want that person to heal, you can kind of step into that role and kind of be a little bit of a bridge between that person and God to bring healing into their life. And so that's just, those are kind of some of the thoughts that come to me on this topic. And I think this is just something that everyone finds their own way through it, that, no one prays the same, because no one sees things exactly the same. So you're just going to pray for that person from your unique vantage point and how you see that they need help. And I think the most important thing here is that if you are coming from a place of genuinely wanting to help them, and your heart is in it for the right reason, it's going to go good. And it doesn't, you don't have to be incredibly eloquent. You don't have to speak in poetry. You know what I mean? It can be very, very simple. It can be as simple as, God, heal this person now. Like, bring healing into their life so they can feel good again. That's it. It doesn't have to be anything too fancy. I think, again, the important thing is that it's coming from the right place. So I just want to encourage you, Deanna, if this is something that you feel called to do for people, I encourage you to do that. I think it's good. I think it really helps people. But I think the main thing is that you want to maybe develop that trust first. You want to help that person to feel comfortable first, And because if they're coming to you for allergies or something, and then all of a sudden you're praying and they're like, wait, but I haven't even told them, like, I haven't even said anything yet. They're going to be like, what is going on here? Like, this is kind of weird. Like, we don't want that to happen. So just make sure you feel the person out. And if things feel open and they're flowing and they feel good, and you just ask them and check in if they feel comfortable with that, you've got their permission, that creates an opening for you to enter in there. And that's really, really good. But I just wanted to share some of that to hopefully spare you of any potential awkward moments or making someone feel uncomfortable, because I have made that mistake, and it was uncomfortable for both, right? It's like I could feel that they felt weird, and then that made me feel weird, and then it was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, you know? So just sharing a little bit from my experience, so hopefully you don't have to make the same mistakes that I have. So thanks for the great question, Deanna. I really appreciate that you're bringing this up, because it's not something that I'm always talking about, because I'm oftentimes focused so much on talking about the herbs and their properties and how to help people with them. But to me, the prayer is a really important aspect of the work that I do. And I really believe in it. And that's, I think, the thing that I would close with with this question is that you have to believe in it. You know, don't just talk, but there's a way that you kind of orient your inside, your heart and your mind, and that you're putting a faith and a belief in your prayer, that gives it that healing power to it. It's kind of hard for me to explain, but that's the best way that I know how to explain it, is that, you know, you don't want to pray for a person and then be like, well, I don't know, I hope it works. You know, it's like, well, that just kind of killed it a little bit, right? You got to believe in it with your whole heart and your whole mind, and be confident in that, because that's what's feeding that power, right? Because the way I see it is, it's kind of like you're kind of like acting as almost this bridge between that person and God. And the minute you start doubting it, or you don't believe in it, or anything like that, it's like you just kind of dammed the flow of the river, so to speak, and it's not going to get through, and it's not going to work. So believe in yourself, have faith, have belief in that, and it really will help people.